Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Kerrville Weekly News Roundup, hosted by the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network. We are your co-host, Andrew Gay and Tom Fox, and we are also founders in the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network. We're happy to be here this afternoon and just share with you a few quick top picks of our favorite news stories from this week. So thank you very much for joining us. And Tom, if you want, sir, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. So, a couple of stories, Andrew. The first one was the meeting of the library committee, and that has become one of the most contentious areas in Kerrville. A group of citizens have complained that there are books which they believe should be censored from the library. They have filed criminal charges against librarians. They have caused a commotion at Kerr County Commissioners Court and have got Kerr County commissioners about ready to not fund the library in Kerrville. And the library had its monthly meeting. And before they take up any policy changes, this meeting was dedicated to public input. And the public turned out in support of the libraries and the librarians and the books they have. They completely debunked the claims that the American Library Society is running the Kerrville Library. Yes, the Kerrville Library is a member, but the Kerrville Library follows the rules and requirements as laid out by the state of Texas, not any national volunteer organization. Probably the strongest statements were that if parents are worried about the books in the library, well, the parents need to exercise parental censorship over their children. And whether that be you don't give them a library card, whether it be you go with them to the library, but it's not up to the library to pull books because three people find it offensive that there's a reference to a gay bartender. But the meeting went off relatively smoothly. 50 people spoke. Interestingly, the Kerr County commissioners did not show up to speak, and I think that speaks pretty loudly in and of itself. So we got through that. Then there will be later policies which are presented to the public. The second story, a little bit lighter, but hopefully a little bit more fun, and it's a group called the Highwaymen. They're a tribute band are playing at the Caillou Center this weekend. And I really wanted to talk about that, Andrew, because the music scene in this town is unbelievable. There
I
are,
agree. Love it.
10 venues every weekend and almost 10 venues every night where there's some form of live music. And this group is a professional group touring through Kerrville. They're coming here to play in our little town. Obviously, we have the Kerrville Folk Festival, but this is just a regular weekend in Kerrville, and there's great music. And we have it as varied as choral, orchestral singing, country western, songwriters, rock and roll, pretty much everything in between. So it's going to be a big weekend. I'm really excited for the Highwaymen and the music scene in Kerrville. Here it is February, and it's as vibrant as it's ever been.
It sure is. And I just to that point, I just want to expand on that just a little bit. I have wonderful experiences listening to live music here in Kerrville, and it's awesome because it's in my backyard, and my wife and I love that scene. We have the Trailhead Beer Garden right on Shriner campus, which is filled now, I think, from my understanding, almost every Friday and Saturday night with some kind of live music, whether it's someone from the college or someone that they've brought in. And just the other weekend, I don't think I mentioned it on here, but Marcy Playground, which is it's a alternative rock band from my childhood that had, a really big hit back then, came to one of the ranches just outside of town, and that was just awesome to see them. So I really appreciate you touching on the live music part. So I think my stories, the first, we'll go from music to food. I think this is a big deal because we have gotten several notices over the last couple of months of new additions to the Kerrville area as far as food goes. We had some fast food additions and whatnot, but this one particularly is Freddy's. which is a frozen custard and steak burger joint. And this article here that I'm showing is from ISA, just straight off their website. And if you know, I saw someone earlier on social media asking, like they were getting super excited about it, and then their question was, "Well, what?" They're like, "I'm excited about it, but I don't even know what a steak burger is." But I would there's definitely a difference between, if you haven't had a steak burger, there is a difference between a steak burger and just a normal American hamburger. There really is. There's a little bit of a taste difference there, but I'm all about it. I'm not too big on the ice cream or the frozen custard side, but I'm excited for that, and it gets me pumped up to see um, someone like this, especially a chain like this that's as prominent as they are and has been successful and has a good consumer following as them coming here. So that was one that was pretty exciting. I'm glad I saw that one. And then I think the other one that I wanted to mention was the apartment development that was on last week's city council agenda, and they talked about the developer was there. They had some permitting issues they had to discuss, but just recently, I was looking into that, and it looks like it's going to be just south of town here. And I know Kerrville's on kind of a strange grid where it's not really north, south, east, west. It's kind of turned a little bit as far as the major thoroughfares that come through here, but 16 that runs out south of town. I believe, from my understanding, the development of an apartment complex there is going to be by Camp Meeting Road, which I believe is out there on the south side of 16. And just like you and I were talking before we got the podcast started, I think that that could be a great addition to our area, because one of the big issues that we're facing here, and the highlights of even the economic summit that's taking place here in the next couple of weeks is workforce housing, and that's been a big topic over the last few years, and it's just become more and more of an issue. So hopefully, developments like this can help us try to solve that issue in a problem in a smart way, to where it can take some kind of positive action for our community and our housing issue here. So those are my two stories. Tom, you got anything else to add before we call it quits for the weekend?
Looking forward to getting back to some warm weather so I can be outside this weekend, Andrew.
Yeah, same here. And I don't think I have anything planned but rest this weekend. So I will be happy to do that. My wife and I will just hang out with the dog. So do house projects, as she calls it. I get roped into it, so I don't have a say. Okay, guys, I think that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for joining us for a quick news update. We hope that you have a safe and wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you back here next week. Oh, and don't forget, next Friday, but from 11:30 to 1, we are doing a workshop at the Kroc Center, the Ray and Joan Kroc Center here in Kerrville, about why your business needs a podcast. It's only $20 for you to join. You get some lunch. You get to hear from us, founders of Texas Hill Country Podcast Network, and the star of the show, Tom Fox here, full-time podcaster, about why your business needs a podcast. So please come out and join us. It's going to be a good time. We do already have some attendees scheduled, and we really look forward and hope that you will join us next Friday. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.